Living alone after 60 can feel like freedom. Your home is yours. Your time is yours. You decide when to wake up, what to eat, where to go, and how to spend your afternoon. Nobody's asking why you're watching television at 10 in the morning, and nobody is telling you that you should be doing something else. But there's another side to that freedom that nobody likes to talk about. Some of the hardest problems that come with living alone do not arrive as dramatic disasters. They begin quietly. A skipped meal, a canceled invitation, a pile of mail you promised to deal with later, a week where you barely leave the house. Each one seems harmless, until harmless becomes normal. And then one day you look around and realize that your life has become smaller, more stressful, or more difficult than you ever intended. The good news is that these patterns can be recognized early. Today, you are going to hear about 12 ugly things to avoid when living alone after 60. Some may sound familiar, a few might even make you uncomfortable, but that's exactly why they're worth talking about. Because the goal is not simply to live alone. The goal is to live alone while staying safe, connected, independent, and genuinely happy with the life you are building. Number 1. Avoid letting your world become smaller. At first, staying home feels wonderful. You have spent decades getting up early, going to work, dealing with traffic, answering other people's questions, and rushing from one responsibility to another. Now you can stay home. So you do. One day becomes 2, then you realize you have not been anywhere except the grocery store in almost a week. This happens more easily than people realize. One older woman described how after retirement, she gradually stopped accepting invitations because staying home was more comfortable. At first, she enjoyed the quiet. Months later, she realized she was rarely seeing anyone outside her immediate family. The problem was not that she enjoyed being alone. The problem was that being alone had slowly become her entire life. That distinction matters. Your home should be your safe place, not your entire world. So, create a simple rule. Leave the house regularly, even when you have nowhere important to go. Take a walk, visit the library, sit outside, go to a coffee shop, talk to a neighbor, browse a store without buying anything. You do not need a packed social calendar. You simply need reminders that life is still happening beyond your front door. Number 2. Avoid pretending you do not need anyone. Independence is something to be proud of, but there's a dangerous version of independence that sounds like this: I can handle everything myself. Maybe you can, but eventually everyone needs help with something. It could be carrying a heavy box, fixing something around the house, getting to an appointment, understanding a confusing document, or simply having someone check in when you've had a difficult day. One retired man once described how he refused to ask his children for help because he was afraid they would think he could no longer take care of himself. Ironically, the constant pressure of doing everything alone made his life harder than it needed to be. Asking for help did not take away his independence, it protected it. There's no prize for making life unnecessarily difficult. Build a small circle of people you trust. You do not need 20 close friends. You need a few people who would answer the phone if you called. Real independence is not having nobody to rely on. It's knowing you can make your own decisions while still accepting support when you genuinely need it. Number 3, avoid letting your health routines disappear. When you live alone, nobody may notice that you skipped your walk. Nobody may remind you about an appointment. Nobody may notice that you have been eating poorly for several days. And that freedom can become a trap. It often starts with something tiny. I'll schedule that appointment next week. I'll start walking again tomorrow. I don't feel like cooking tonight. Once is not a problem, but repeated often enough, small decisions become habits. One older woman shared that after her husband passed away, she became much less consistent with routine health appointments. She kept telling herself she felt fine, so there was no urgency. The problem was not one missed appointment, it was the pattern. Living alone means you have to become your own reminder. Put appointments on a calendar. Set reminders on your phone. Keep important health information organized. Create simple routines that make taking care of yourself automatic rather than something you have to remember every single day. And do not wait until you feel terrible before paying attention to yourself. You do not have to be perfect. You just have to stay involved in your own well-being. Number 4. Avoid turning your television into your roommate. There is nothing wrong with enjoying television. After a long life of responsibilities, sitting down with a favorite program can be one of life's simple pleasures. The problem begins when the television becomes the easiest form of company. You wake up and turn it on. You eat breakfast with it. You leave it running while you clean. Then you sit down after lunch and it is still talking. By evening, you have spent hours listening to other people live their lives while you have barely participated in your own. That can happen so gradually that you do not even notice it. Try something simple. Choose what you actually want to watch it, and then turn it off. Use that time for something that gives something back to you. Read a book, call someone, work on a hobby, go outside, listen to music, even sit quietly with a cup of coffee. Silence is not always loneliness. Sometimes silence is where you finally hear yourself think. And if the television has become your default companion, the next thing to watch out for may already be sitting in your kitchen, because living alone can quietly change the way you eat. Number 5. Avoid letting your meals become an afterthought. When you live alone, there is nobody waiting at the dinner table. Nobody asks what you are having. Nobody notices if dinner is a bowl of cereal, a bag of chips, or whatever you happen to find in the refrigerator. And that freedom can make it very easy to stop treating meals like they matter. One older woman described how, after living alone for several years, she realized she had stopped cooking real meals almost completely. She would snack throughout the afternoon and then eat something quick at night, because cooking for one person seemed like too much effort. The strange part was that she did not feel like she was making a bad decision. It simply became normal. That is how many unhealthy routines begin. Not with one terrible choice, but with dozens of small choices that barely feel important. You don't need to prepare a complicated dinner every night. Make something simple. Put it on a plate. Sit at the table. Drink some water. Treat yourself like someone worth feeding properly. Because you are. And there's another reason this matters. A regular meal gives your day structure. Breakfast tells you the morning has started. Lunch gives the middle of the day a purpose. Dinner gives you a natural point to slow down. When you live alone, those little landmarks can make a surprisingly big difference. Number 6. Avoid letting your home become a burden. Maybe you have lived in the same house for 30 or 40 years. Every room contains memories. The kitchen where your children used to eat breakfast. The bedroom where you raised a family. The garage full of things you might use someday. So the idea of downsizing can feel almost like giving up part of your life. But there is an uncomfortable question worth asking. Is your home still serving you, or are you spending your life serving your home? One older homeowner described spending entire weekends cleaning rooms that she barely used. She was proud of the house, but she eventually realized that maintaining it was taking more energy than enjoying it. You do not have to move. You do not have to sell your home. But you should honestly evaluate what your home requires from you. If the yard is too much, consider getting help. If cleaning the entire house is exhausting, simplify it. If certain rooms are rarely used, close them off. And if downsizing eventually makes sense, don't think of it as losing your life. Sometimes having less house means having more life. Your home should give you comfort. It should not quietly become your full-time job. Number 7. Avoid allowing clutter to take over. This one is different from having a large home. You can live in a small apartment and still feel overwhelmed by clutter. When you live alone, there is nobody else saying, "What is all this stuff doing here?" So things accumulate. Mail, boxes, old clothes, kitchen gadgets, half-finished projects, things you keep because you might need them someday. And one day you realize you are moving objects around instead of actually using your home. Clutter is not just about appearance. It can create a constant feeling of unfinished business. Every pile is another little task waiting for you. And sometimes the solution is surprisingly simple. Do not try to clean your entire home in one weekend. Choose one drawer, one shelf, one countertop, one closet. Ask yourself 3 questions. Do I use this? Do I need this? Would I notice if it were gone? If the answer is no, consider letting it go. You don't have to throw away everything meaningful. Keep the things that matter, but remember that memories live in you, not just in objects. You can keep the photograph without keeping every box surrounding it. You can remember someone without keeping every item they ever owned. Your home should have room for the life you are living now. Number 8. Avoid losing track of your days. This sounds harmless until it starts happening. You wake up on Monday, then somehow it is Thursday. You are not sure what you accomplished. The days feel almost identical. When you were working, the calendar was built into your life. Monday meant work. Friday meant the weekend. Appointments gave you destinations. Responsibilities gave you deadlines. Retirement removes many of those automatic markers, and living alone can remove even more. That's why thriving seniors create simple structure. Maybe Tuesday is grocery day. Wednesday is your walking group. Thursday is when you call your sister. Saturday is when you visit the farmer's market. It does not have to be complicated. Even having a regular breakfast time and bedtime can give your day a sense of rhythm. And there is something else this does. It gives you things to look forward to. A life does not need to be busy to feel meaningful, but it does need some shape. If every day is completely unplanned, it becomes very easy to spend the day waiting for something to happen. Instead, give yourself a few things worth showing up for. Because when you live alone, you can't always wait for somebody else to create the structure. Sometimes you have to build it yourself. Number 9. Avoid ignoring small safety problems. This is one of those things that is easy to dismiss because nothing has happened yet. That loose rug, it has been there for years. That dark hallway, you know the house well enough. That clutter on the stairs, you'll move it later. But living alone changes the consequences of a small accident. If you fall and nobody is there, a simple problem can become a much bigger one. So walk through your home with fresh eyes. Look at the rugs. Look at the lighting. Look at the stairs. Look at the bathroom. Look at the places where you regularly reach, bend, or climb. Ask yourself a simple question. If something went wrong here, would I be able to get help? That question is not meant to make you afraid. It is meant to make you prepared. Keep your phone accessible. Make sure important contacts are easy to find. Consider simple safety improvements where needed. And do not wait for an accident to convince you that a 5-minute fix was worth doing. The goal is not to turn your home into a fortress. It is to make your home a place where you can move around confidently. And the next mistake is even more personal because it has nothing to do with your house, your health, or your finances. It has to do with what happens inside your mind when nobody else is around. Number 10. Avoid losing your sense of purpose. This one can sneak up on you. For decades, there was probably something that needed you. A job needed you, children needed you, a spouse needed you, a household needed you, even problems needed you. Then retirement arrives. The children grow up, work disappears, the house becomes quiet, and suddenly you have something you may not have had in decades. A lot of completely unscheduled time. At first, that sounds like heaven, but eventually some people start asking a difficult question. What am I actually supposed to do with myself now? That question can become painful if every day feels like nothing more than waiting for bedtime. One retired man described feeling surprisingly lost after leaving his career. He had spent decades being responsible for people and projects. Once that responsibility disappeared, he realized he had never learned what he wanted to do simply because he enjoyed it. That is a lesson worth paying attention to. Your value did not disappear when your job ended. Your purpose did not disappear when your children moved out, and your life did not become less meaningful because you live alone. Purpose can change. Maybe it becomes volunteering. Maybe it is gardening. Maybe it is caring for an animal. Maybe it is learning something you never had time to learn. Maybe it is helping a younger person. Maybe it is simply becoming the person in your family who keeps everyone connected. You do not need to save the world. You need something that makes you feel that your presence matters. Because there's a big difference between having nothing to do and having nothing that feels worth doing. Do not accept the second one as your new normal. Number 11. Avoid holding on to everything simply because it reminds you of the past. This one can be emotional. Living alone can make memories feel even more important. A spouse's old jacket, a child's childhood toys, boxes of photographs, old letters, furniture that has been in the family for decades. Sometimes these things are priceless, and some should absolutely be kept. But there is a point where remembering the past can begin to prevent you from enjoying the present. One older woman described keeping nearly everything that belonged to her late husband. She could not throw away his clothes, his tools, or even small objects that had almost no practical value. For years, every closet reminded her of what she had lost. Eventually, with help from her family, she went through the belongings one piece at a time. She kept the things that truly meant something. She photographed some of the others, and she gave away the rest. She later described her home as feeling lighter, not because she loved her husband any less, because she finally understood that letting go of an object is not the same thing as letting go of a person. That distinction can be incredibly freeing. You are allowed to keep memories. You are also allowed to make room for new ones. So if you have a room, closet, or garage full of things you never use, do not feel pressured to deal with everything tomorrow. Start with one small box. Keep what genuinely matters. Let go of what is only taking up space. Your memories belong to you. They do not need every object to survive. Number 12. Avoid becoming financially disconnected from your own money. This may be one of the ugliest problems because it can remain invisible for months or even years. When two people share a household, responsibilities often become divided. One person pays the bills, the other handles appointments. One manages investments, the other keeps track of household expenses. Then something changes. A spouse passes away. A partner becomes unable to manage things, and suddenly, the person who never handled the finances is staring at bank statements, automatic payments, insurance documents, and accounts they barely recognize. That situation can feel overwhelming. One woman discovered after her husband died that several automatic payments were still coming out of her account every month. Some were services she no longer used. She was not irresponsible, she simply had never been the person managing those details. That is why financial organization matters so much when you live alone. Know where your important accounts are. Know which bills need to be paid. Know what subscriptions are coming out automatically. Know where important documents are stored. And if you have a trusted person in your life, make sure they know how to help if there is ever an emergency. This does not mean giving someone control over your money. It means making sure your financial life is not a mystery to you. Because independence becomes much harder when you cannot see where your money is going. Take 1 hour this week and review your recurring expenses. Look at your bank statements. Find the subscriptions you forgot about. Check your bills. Organize the important paperwork. You may discover something that saves you money. More importantly, you'll gain something even more valuable: clarity. And clarity creates confidence. There is one final thing worth remembering about all 12 of these problems. None of them usually destroys someone's independence overnight. That is what makes them dangerous. Isolation happens one canceled invitation at a time. Poor habits happen one skipped meal at a time. Clutter happens one object at a time. Financial disorganization happens one ignored statement at a time. And losing purpose happens one empty afternoon at a time. The good news is that the opposite works the same way. You do not have to completely change your life tomorrow. You can make one phone call, take one walk, clean one drawer, cook one proper meal, fix one safety problem, review one bank statement, ask one person for help, start one hobby. Small decisions can rebuild a life just as quietly as small decisions can shrink it. So if you are living alone after 60, do not mistake independence for isolation. Do not mistake asking for help for weakness. Do not mistake a quiet house for an empty life. And do not assume that because you are older, your best routines, experiences, or memories are behind you. There is still a great deal of life available to you. The goal is to protect it. So think about these 12 things honestly. Which one felt a little too familiar? Which one made you think, I probably need to work on that? Start with that one, not all 12, just one. Because a better life does not always begin with a dramatic change. Sometimes it begins with a small decision made on an ordinary Tuesday. And if you live alone, that decision is yours. If this video helped you see something in your own life that you want to change, share it in the comments. Which of these 12 are you going to work on first?